Today on the iRacing Downshift, Jimmy does Jimmy things.
I'm talking. Hello, talking man.
I talk about Coanda parties. This place is about to go down, and Will helps us with recovery.
We brought you 2 cans of rich energy to prove that it does actually exist.
All that and more. So strap in. Welcome to the iRacing Downshift. I'm your host, Greg West. I'm here with the boys, Kevin, Bobbitt, and Chris Leone. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the build and everything that goes into that. We also had a pretty interesting last couple of weeks. A lot of travel going on with the iRacing staff. SimRacing Expo, Chris visiting Crandon. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff. How you doing this morning, Chris?
Well, Greg, I'm alive, and that's about all I can say for myself.
Are you enjoying your day off so far?
Yeah, my day off.
Finger quotes.
Yeah, my day off. I go back to the other radio show with Jim at our distribution network. We're hitting 400 today, but here on the iRacing Downshift, we're hitting milestone episode number 9.
Big day
Very
for
proud
us.
of us.
That's pretty exciting.
Kevin, how have you been doing? I feel like you've had some ups and downs, some old man issues yesterday.
Wow, that hurts, literally. So I had a great time in Germany. The Sim Expo was always awesome. Great time.
Except when we got a flat tire.
Except for when our driver got us a flat tire, Greg. But
Hey.
that'll be a subject for another episode, perhaps. But awesome time. Great to see so many members. Did hurt myself in my men's league soccer game this weekend, but I'll survive. Don't worry.
I'm proud of you for making it to the office today without a walker.
I appreciate that.
Big day for you. All right, let's get this party started. This big news for iRacing. The Season 3 build is in action, and we have a lot going on. One of the biggest ones is the Audi RS3 LMS car in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Kevin, you are a big part of bringing this car to fruition and this series. Tell us about it.
Oh, it's a great car. It's been really well received so far. Lots of people racing it. It's been one of the most requested cars we've had, a touring car. So to finally have one is amazing. To work with IMSA to put it in an official IMSA series is great. We'll get some support from them. They'll be, I think they've already been tweeting about it and all that. So nice to have that support. And if you haven't driven the car, it's super fun to drive.
It's a blast.
People are like, oh, it's a front-wheel drive car. Yeah, that's why it's fun. Go off in the grass. What do? Keep your foot in it, right? I mean, this is not the fast way around, but you get around really fun. And it's got this new tire model on it. So if you haven't tried that out, check it out.
Yeah, one of a bunch of cars that we have with the new tire model. But I was looking at the stats this morning. We've only had about 12 hours of the official series, and almost 400 people have already raced the car. A lot of splits, so a really good series to be a part of.
That number's more than I think we had in the other front-wheel drive car all of last season. So
I think
it's a good start.
Yeah, last time the Kia had 117 people all last season. This had almost 400 in the first 12 hours. I'm going to say that the participation's up.
Yeah, we'll call this a success so far.
On that note, the Kia is actually have been made free, so it means both cars in the Grand Touring Coupe, both the Cadillac and the Kia, are free. I'm looking forward to seeing how that affects participation. We also have 3 new Xfinity cars, the Camaro, the Mustang, and the all-new Supra. Really excited to see some of those B-class NASCAR races going off, looking more up-to-date than they were just a couple weeks ago. Then we also have the Lucas Off-Road Pro 2 Lite. Chris, this is one of your babies. You do like the dirty things. No pun intended. Why don't you tell us about trucks?
Where do we go from there?
Let's keep it professional, Greg. Yeah, the Lucas Oil Pro 2 Lite modeled off of that Pro 2 truck, but a significant step down in horsepower. And the point of this truck, this Pro 2 Lite truck, is to equip people with the skill set to be able to drive the real thing, the real Pro 2, have those instincts, know how to drive a real wheel truck. We've seen this in the real world as well. Where I come from in GRC, that was actually the whole point of the GRC Lights car, was basically to build a supercar that ran at 60% power so drivers would be able to learn the skill sets that would make them effective when they stepped up. It is the exact same concept with the Pro 2 Lite. It's just as much fun, if not more so, as the Pro 2. But once you master that truck, you're going to have the skill set to be able to step up and be super competitive in the Pro 2.
Now, it's a rookie class car. It's actually not running on the big truck tracks. We're running on all the free rallycross tracks. So it's a free truck, free places to race, lots of fun. Races going off every 30 minutes at the 15 and the 45. So plenty of opportunities to get in there and race.
There's literally no reason to not try this truck. I mean,
if you're a member,
right?
What is
Go
it?
out there and try it.
What if you hate fun?
Okay, there's one reason.
Only reason.
Moving on, we also have 2 new tracks that came out. We've got Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. That was one of the big hits at the SimRacing Expo. Greg Hill and his crew did a great job of putting that track together, Kevin.
And there was also a 24-hour race at Barcelona, same time, which they were running their own 24-hour real-world race. They ran a 24-hour sim race using, a pre-build edition of the track. It was the race went off fantastically, great promotion from the track, but also, Greg, you and I got to see it firsthand, the reactions of the members at the Sim Expo, and they love the track. It looks spectacular. It's fun to drive, multiple configurations.
5
configurations. That's multiple, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of opportunities to race there.
Yeah, so I'm still learning the track. A couple surprise corners for me because I don't have enough laps in it, but it's a fun one to learn. It looks great. It's got all the latest stuff from Greg Hill and his group, so it looks spectacular. Really worth trying out.
Speaking of looking spectacular, also Fairbury Speedway got debuted, and we teased that a little earlier, and kind of it almost felt like it got put on the back burner as far as the excitement, but a lot of fun. Really a short track that's got some interesting features. Chris.
Man, Greg, they call it America's Dirt Track for a reason, and I think our members are going to have a ton of fun on Fairbury Speedway. I mean, we've seen from World Championships that have run earlier this year, the best of the best drivers taking on the best of the best dirt tracks, quarter mile and half mile here in America, and Fairbury is just another fantastic addition to that.
Also, as Kevin alluded to earlier, the Audi's not the only car that got the new tire model. The Aston Martin GT1, the Corvette GT1, the Dallara F3 car, which is featured in both their Formula Sprint and the F3 series presented by SimuCube. Oh, that's new. More about that
I think there might be more to talk about that.
Yeah. It's also, this is really exciting, though. The NASCAR K&N car, the first oval car that we have with the new tire model, and so far it's been absolutely rave reviews. You can't abuse them on the long run because you'll probably have a blowout. So that's made for some interesting racing so far. And then, of course, the Skip Barber car also has the new tire model that we tested last season.
Lots going on with the Skip Barber car, right? Not just the tire model.
Is there something else going on with that?
I think I saw some pieces fly off
and
of it.
Parts.
Yeah, pretty cool,
Yeah.
huh? It looks spectacular.
New damage model for those of you that haven't picked it up on the Skippy this season, and the crash compilation videos have already been going off. I saw a couple of our streamers just having an absolute blast with it. Remember, though, the new damage model, this is a slightly pre-release version. The members have been begging for it, and so we got it to a place where we're happy to have our members continue to help us develop the damage model, and we're looking forward to getting out on multiple cars in the near future. So it is an active work in progress.
Boy, was it fun to watch you guys create some crash videos here in the office, though.
That was one of the more fun projects I've been involved in recently, where I think Alex said, hey, we need to get some footage of the Skippies crashing. I was like, I'm in.
I liked it when like 40 people in the office jumped in and just decided to not turn right at turn 1 of Zolder. That was pretty entertaining. We also have some other stuff, though, that really does need to be highlighted. Once again, Greg Hill and his art crew have brought some amazing effects into the sim, specifically the HDR rendered lighting. You're going to see that specifically on the sunrises and sunsets with the dynamic sky, and it is absolutely beautiful, some of the effects. I know Steve Myers had a screenshot contest the other day of people driving at sunrise, and you saw some just absolutely stunning pictures. That also highlights the new solar flare effect. We have another thing that's really exciting, though, is finally iRacing has spotter packs in multiple languages. Now, these are still under development. Some of them are a little rough around the edges as we continue to get them situated, but we've got French, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish now. The Spanish spotter, I hear, gets pretty excited when it gets 3 wide. 3 wide!
Kevin, did you bring in a soccer commentator for that one?
All right, moving on. We've got a lot of really good content from the SimRacing Expo. Kevin and I sat down with multiple racers, vendors, etc., members from...
Yeah, the Sim Expo, we talked about it briefly a few minutes ago, but it's really a great event. If you ever have a chance to get there, you should go. It's at the Nurburgring, which is one of the coolest places to go if you're a race fan. But... I don't know what your favorite part, Greg, was, but mine, I just love talking to the members and hearing from them. It's great to get their feedback and just to see them and thank them for being members. There lots of cool stuff to see. There was great racing. the official racing as well as the equipment. I don't know, what was a highlight for you, Craig?
Me getting to try every single motion rig on the face of the planet. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you did try to cut to the front of those lines. Like,
mean,
hey, excuse me, I'm working.
That
And they were like,
iRacing shirt did have a couple of perks. No, there was some really cool motion rigs out there, the 6DOF stuff, the stuff from SimCraft. Sean and the guys really showed me and you and Dougie a good time, and they also did a great job. Thanks out to SimCraft, by the way, for helping us set up our booth as we got our rigs a little tight on the deadline, and they were over there without us. We didn't
the
ask.
SimCraft boys were helping us install the SimLab stuff, so it's really cool to have the whole community come together and work as a team.
It takes a village, and what that brought along is some really cool content creation from the content creators that were there. We had a lot of guys jump in the sim, and hundreds of thousands of people looking at iRacing. Chris?
Yeah, and I was following it from here stateside. I obviously wasn't in the office. I was off at Crandon celebrating one of our newest future additions to the service, but you guys were having so much fun out there. It was cool to see just everybody who popped through the booth, and I'm excited to hear some of the interviews that you got with some of our guys.
We also had a little bit of a dynamic interview. Kevin, tell us about some of maybe the less responsible things we did over there.
Sunday morning, we thought we'd go check out the Nordschleife. So we met up with an old friend, Dale Lomas, who runs Bridge to Gantry website. He's also a Ring limo driver.
The infamous.
Not a Ring taxi driver. So it was, we went for a quick lap, which we'll be posting video of. We were thinking about we were going to do an interview while we were driving or riding, and that quickly turned to no, just hang on, keep your phone in your pocket, hang on, and try not to throw up. It was fantastic, though.
Yeah, Dougie drew the winning straw, so he was riding shotgun. Kevin and I were in the back seat of this Jaguar XJ, and I'm thinking it's this is gonna be a nice little cruise around. A little quick. Maybe we'll bust 100 miles an hour. And when he told us we were over 160, not kilometers an hour. No. That was.
That's one way to wake up on a Sunday morning after working a trade show for a few days. You might feel a little groggy on the last day, but I was awake that day for sure.
The blood is almost returned to my hand from holding onto the grip. So, but moving on, let's get into our interviews. We're going to kick it off here with Mr. Jimmy Broadbent. Hope you enjoy. I'm really excited for our next guest, Mr. Jimmy Broadbent, the great Jimmy Broadbent.
You're being too kind to me now. Is this how I say nice things? Is that what it is?
We're hoping you'll be nice to us now.
No, and we're really excited to have you here. There's been a lot of talk recently. You put out a video that was critical of iRacing, and rightfully so. And I think that's something right off the bat is something to discuss. I think people would be interested in. For those that missed it, there was an issue with the Spa 24 with an incident limit. And I'll let Jimmy take it away, kind of. So I'm not paraphrasing you. I'd like to paraphrase kind of what you discussed.
Well, basically for us, I mean, the issue it affects a small amount of people. Right? It's the people like myself and my teammates who we love the special events, so we turn up for each one. And the instant limit of Spa, I think, was set at something like, what was it, 40 something?
44. Lewis Hamilton's number. It really stuck in my head.
Yeah, 40. A blessed amount of incidents. Which, I mean, at Spa, if you're familiar with the circuit, you just can't get away with that, unfortunately. It's very strict on off-track. So for a 24-hour race, for people who aren't professionals, it ruined the split. And the video was meant to be just something that highlighted that, because from the perspective of us, it's happened a few times now in a few different events. There have been different problems with different special events, and we want them to work because we love doing them. But it's infinitely frustrating when you put in X amount of hours to come back and then see that the race is already half decided for you.
Trust me, it's frustrating on our end too when these things happen.
And I think the problem with the video is that people saw it as some sort of attack almost. I mean, it definitely wasn't that at all. I think it was actually quite calm and collected. But of course, there are a lot of people who are very passionate about iRacing, me included. But unfortunately, more so than others. So, of course, a bit of a stir in some places.
And to be clear, there were no hard feelings from iRacing on that. There was an issue. It didn't go off as planned, an issue that we have never found in the history of iRacing. For those of you that don't know, it's called a binary overflow. And basically, we set the incident limit at 300, and the code wouldn't let it do it.
Yeah.
The way it added up to 300 ended up defaulting to 44 without getting too much into it. And in all of our testing, and we test extensively, we have never actually seen that happen. But now we know, and we've learned from it, and we've made an adjustment for it where we can have thousands and thousands of incidents. But there was no angst on our part. You are a critic, and rightfully so, of all sim racing, and people respect your opinion, and we respect your opinion.
Well, some people,
Okay.
not everyone.
But there was no hard feelings. It blew up in the forums and on YouTube and whatnot. But just to clear the air, that was not coming from iRacing.
Nothing. You know, I didn't make the video with the intention of upsetting anybody. It was more just a discussion between me and my teammate, because we have those chats all the time. We thought, well, let's just have it and record it and see how it goes. And then, you know, good and bad, people watched it, but I think not for the right reasons. But you know, to move past it, you know, like those events are so special. You know, big endurance fan. I love going out there and driving for 4 hours at a time because, you know, I'm weird like that. I love that kind of thing. So, and iRacing's the best place for that at the moment. And so you want it to work. You want it to be perfect. You know, it's a sim race. You know, it's not always going to be perfect, but I think it's great.
I'd just add that we're equally passionate about these events, and you know, equally frustrated when they don't go off as planned. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, planning, testing, trying to get it executed right. You should see the checklist we have. It's multiple pages, and it's, you know, it's got another line on it now.
Is there an apology letter for Jimmy Broadbent on there after the intentional wreck?
It's the Broadbent incident limit is what it's known as.
Right.
I just made that
when
up.
I did wreck you in the truck there, it was not intentional. And thank you for not protesting me, by the way.
He messaged me on the forums before, so I'm coming for you, Jimmy. That was the end of that.
No. I think that was one of the few times I might have been a little bit quicker than you in a car, because I'd been testing the trucks and you'd been on them for maybe 3 minutes or something. And so I do apologize formally for returning you. But,
He told me he was going to do it. It's premeditated, just so you know. Should I? Yes.
He's got a picture of my face on a dartboard in the back of his door.
Let's move on to what people really
Yeah,
want to
let's
hear,
switch
which is the
gears.
new content, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you had a chance to try a couple different pieces of new content for a while, since we tried to do it last night and couldn't with the situation of sound at the SimRacing Expo, we were unable to. So we came back early this morning after just a little bit of sleep because the Coanda boys were partying pretty hard.
Yeah, that sound travels, is what I'll say.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you experienced today?
So I had, first of all, TCR car was the thing that interested me because I've been lucky enough to have a go in one in real life. And I was like, oh, let's see how this compares. First thing out, sound is pretty much spot on, you know, as close as it can be, I think, coming from a set of speakers. It's that for me is like the first step of immersion, get the sound right and you get everything else right as well. And driving it, because, you know, to say I was never really a fan of the Kia. I think a lot of people were like, oh, the Kia maybe is a little bit outdated or whatever. But so I was kind of afraid that, maybe it'll be a similar front-wheel drive experience. Getting it, it's what you expect it to be. You can really turn the car on the power. A lot of people think that you don't want to get on the power too much when steering a front-wheel drive car because you'll just understeer. That's half it. You always want to have one foot on the power to bring the car around the corners. And that's something you pick up straight away. It's intuitive, you know. I jumped in the car for the first time and did a lap with an Nordschleifer straight away because you just know what the car's doing. So I can't really give it higher praise than that, I don't think.
No, that's fantastic, and that's similar language to when people ask me how it drives. I say it drives the way you kind of expect it to drive, right? And I think that's a good sign, right?
Well, that plus it's got the new tyre model in it, and you know I'm thinking, I'm going to go out there and do what I always do in iRacing, just yeet it straight away. The rear tyre's like, no, you're not. And you just go, what? And have this really the front wheel drive slides, as we call it. But you know, after half a lap, you do an out lap on an Nordschleife, everything's warm, and you can really attack, and you feel it progressively come on. That's the cool thing. And speaking of that, I tried the F3 car as well at New Catalunya, and the F3 car is a car that was a bit skatey for me previously, and I couldn't really find out why. But with this new tyre model, it starts off skatey because it's cold, as you expect it to. So I tried to go through T3 and nearly died multiple times. And then a lap after that, it's stronger. You know, it comes on the confidence builds as it would in real life, and that's something you don't really experience that much in Sims.
It's something that a lot of people in the sim have never had a chance to drive true slicks.
Yeah.
And if you have an opportunity to drive true slicks and realize that you really have to
They
get
grip.
the heat in them. Yeah, once they have heat in them,
Yeah.
you are planted. But until then, they're ice cubes, and it makes for an interesting experience.
Well, I had the opportunity to drive some karts recently, and whilst they're only little baby slicks, I went to turn in on colts and just completely just understeered, missed the
Push for
corner.
days.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. 2 laps later, sticks like anything. It's mad.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come by and speak with us, clear the air, and also talk about some of the cool content we have coming out. But looking forward, we've got a couple videos coming out from you driving today.
Yeah. I mean, as Greg said, we battled to get the videos done. So we have a video out hopefully today, which is Saturday.
So they'll
on.
already be out by the time we post this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it's going out. So using time travel, they will be out yesterday.
Well, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your time at the
My
expo.
pleasure. Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Jimmy.
All right, Kevin and I are back with another great guest. Kevin, why don't you bring him in?
We have Sean Patrick McDonald from SimCraft.
Hi there.
Hey, it's great
Hey.
to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sean is the, well, I'll let you do your formal introduction, but SimCraft is your company, makes some awesome motion platforms. We've known each other for, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And been watching your company evolve and grow and see your products. So why don't you give us a little introduction about you and SimCraft?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the technologist, the resident technologist and co-founder. The other founder is my father. It was a retirement project that he started after he retired. And he was more on the aviation side, but the motion technology and the philosophy of how to do it is what's carried over. I've been working on it since 2005. We took product to market in 2009, and iRacing was just coming out at that time as well, and that's when we met, started working together. Now we have a number of products all based on the same philosophies of motion simulation that we started with way back then.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you're here at the Sim Expo showcasing one of your products, the Apex 5, right?
Yeah, we had an opportunity that we sold an Apex 5 GTS unit to a gentleman driver in Belgium, and as part of the negotiation, we wanted to use the sim here. As you probably know, it's very expensive to ship equipment to and fro the U.S.
Yeah, we saw the crate arrive. It was
Yeah.
the size
I
of
think
my
it's
first
huge.
apartment.
It got here at the last minute, thankfully. A little bit of nerve-wracking going on, but we got it done and got it set up. And yeah, we've been showing people what has been our top end for the last year or so, the Apex 5. It's 5 degrees of motion, for those of you who don't know. There are 6 total. And we would have liked to have brought our Apex 6 unit, which we just finished about a month ago. But this crate left Atlanta a month ago, so it just didn't work out.
Now, those carnets are kind of a pain in the butt. to
Yeah,
deal
they
with.
are. Yes, they are. Yep.
So Kevin and I had an opportunity. Sean was nice enough to let us jump in and go at each other on Lime Rock. We're driving the HPD, which tailors more toward me than you. You were on the receiving end of that one. But we went around and kicked each other's butt for a little while. Kevin did a great job of testing out your motion rig, though. He also
I had it sideways multiple times.
You did, and into the wall
the
once or
barriers,
twice.
yeah.
But I'll tell you, getting it sideways is really the way to try your product, because with the yaw, that's for me, that's what you can feel the most, and makes it so different than a lot of the other products that I've driven.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yaw is the most important degree of freedom out of the 6, which is why our Apex 1 product has yaw. We think it's the most important. If you have one piece of motion, you should have yaw. There's a lot of different ways that motion is being implemented here. We see a number of different companies with different approaches. But yaw is rotation at the center of mass of a car in a vertical axis. And so
You sound like a professor.
well,
There'll be a
I'll try-
test later.
You just swivel in your seat in the office chair. That's yaw, right?
Right. But that's the part that people say, oh, it's missing, the seat of the pants feel, right?
Seat of the
'Cause you-
pants, yep.
With a static system, you have to kind of compensate for that and look further down the track, and that kind of helps you notice the rotation a little
Sure.
bit earlier.
Yep.
But if you can feel it in your butt, then I think, you saw me, I caught the car. I was pretty
Yeah.
sideways a couple of times,
Yep.
and I could feel that, and I think it helped catch the car.
Well, one of the challenges is that all human beings are different, and so you take a professional driver They don't need to feel much yaw in order to know when it's coming outside, coming out around. And you take maybe some of the patrons here at the SimRacing Expo that are not, don't have experience in the real thing, and maybe just in the sim world. They might need a little bit more cue, a bigger cue, in order to sort of convey that. The good news is that the technology is extremely adjustable, so that you can add more or less. You can also change the speed at which it rotates.
And on the fly too, you actually you adjusted. You were adjusting the pitch for me to feel a little more throttle response, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Is that something? So when you're going to set this unit up at your customer's house or business, in next week or something, and you'll custom tailor it to his likes?
Yes, we do. We spend time not only actually dialing it in ourselves, but showing them as we're doing it. And then we can program buttons and knobs and encoders and things like that, so they can actually do it while they're driving. I need a little bit more yaw. They literally can reach down on their wheel.
Oh, that's cool.
And add a little bit
more.
So
after training with you guys, you don't have to keep coming back every weekend to help them.
No. I mean, there's a lot of tech that we show these guys, and they don't all get it at the same rate. So it's funny. There are typically 2 calls we get from every customer. It has nothing to do with iRacing. It has nothing to do with SimCredit. It's more to do with the Windows environment and NVIDIA graphics settings.
We get a lot of those too.
Losing the triple screen setup. How do I do that?
Right.
And I've lost audio. That seems to be a very common thing.
Talking about the triple screen setups and going back to your clientele, you work with a lot of gentleman drivers.
Yes,
right?
we do. Yeah.
So, what is the ratio, guys, that are using the triple screens versus do you have customers that are moving more to the virtual reality to get that the immersion with the motion?
We do have that. I would say that the adoption rate for the gentleman driver might be a lot slower than folks our age and younger. I'm not sure that they kind of attach to it like we do, as far as just being interested in technology.
The new tech and all that's a little bit weird to them, right?
There's also sort of a human factor there in terms of our age as well. Gentleman drivers typically tend to be a little older, and eye fatigue is a problem in VR. And so most of the time, in my observations anyways, if they like it and they take to it, after about 25, 30 minutes, they want to be done. They're just tired, they're fatigued, so they revert back to the screens. Some of the gentleman drivers we work with spend 4 or 5 hours at a time, training for the race that's coming up the weekend or the next week. And so looking at 3 screens is a lot more comfortable for them to do over a long-term period.
Yeah, I'm kind of a VR nerd, but I also have triples at home, and depending on what I'm working on, whether I'm doing some testing for stuff at my house, for work, or whether I'm racing for fun, it kind of determines how I utilize the product. But let's talk about how you guys use iRacing yourself. So you say you exclusively use iRacing.
In the field, we do, yeah. We show off the product. I mean, we interface to 80 different pieces of software. iRacing is one of them. So our customers, have the ability to use interfaces to other things, but our focus really for the last 10 years has been showing off our motion technology and our simulation technology with iRacing, because we're have been going after the guys that are doing actually racing the cars and using simulation as a tool. It's interesting because the Europeans seem to be far ahead of Americans in a general way as far as the adoption rate of sims for training for the real thing, but it seems like the Americans are catching up.
Now, if one of our users wants to know more about SimCraft, how can they get in touch with you guys?
Simcraft.com is our website, and contact information there, product information. We build a lot of different things, including pedal sets and motion upgrades for existing cockpits.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Leslie.
Yeah, exactly. So, our website tends to be a little behind in what we're doing. We do a lot of custom work, and we generally take that custom stuff and turn it into a product. And then we sell some before we even started promoting it in some cases. But yeah, simcraft.com is the best place to get information and contact us.
So I had a question about the Apex 6 that you said is now built.
Yeah.
And tested, ready to go. So we just drove the Apex 5, which was awesome. So what's the difference besides one?
Well, the 6 has heave. There are 6 degrees of freedom. Roll, pitch, yaw are the 3 rotations, and surge, sway, and heave are translations on those 3 rotational axes. There are 6 degrees of freedom. So in 1952, the Stuart hexapod was invented, and that's what you envision a flight sim that maybe Delta Airlines would use to train pilots. It's this giant cabinet sitting on top of a very...
I was actually in one in Atlanta, where you're from there.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, we are.
Delta has the museum, and you can go drive that or fly that.
So
it's cool.
that technology has 6 degrees of freedom, which is full motion. That's one of the other things we battle. I'm glad that you mentioned that. We actually are starting to market a full motion product, yet there's a number of companies in our space that are misusing this term. Full motion actually means all 6 degrees of freedom. It was defined by the aviation simulation industry decades ago, but yet it seems that some of my colleagues in our space
you can never trust the marketing guys.
Misuse the terminology. So yeah, it's a little bit of an effort to sort of make sure that we're all sort of on a level playing field and we're using the same terminology correctly. But alas, there's more work to be done.
It sounds like you've had to explain this more than once.
I have. Yeah, I have.
Well, Sean, thank you for making time for us. Thank you for letting us go in there and play around in the sim a bit, for letting me recoup some of my ego, since Kevin usually beats me on the throw and go challenge. And enjoy the rest of your expo.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, one last thing. I know we just signed off. Thank you very much for your help setting up the booth
Oh,
here.
yes, and setting up the booth.
So just so the listeners know, our equipment from great partners got delayed. It showed up a little bit late. We were scrambling for time. Simcraft arrived with a toolbox, nuts and bolts, all kinds of stuff, and they helped us put everything together. It's not even their equipment. So, it's pretty cool that industry partners would help others. Nothing in it for them other than a couple of good guys. So thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 quick things to say there. In the racing world, that happens, right? Race teams down on their luck. They need to make some changes to the car. The competition comes and they help them because they want them out there racing with them. There's a little bit of an analogy there in the real world, right? The second part of it is I would want you guys to help me if I were in the same position. So it's the least I can do.
Well, we appreciate it.
Very much
Thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Sean. All right, Kevin, why don't you introduce our guest?
So today from the Nurburgring, we have Nils Heusinkveld. He is a longtime iRacing member. He's the organizer, I think founder of Neo Endurance League. One of the biggest leagues, one of the most successful leagues, one of the most exciting leagues in iRacing. I've known him for several years. I see him, seems like almost every year at the Sim Expo. I saw him at the Daytona, Rolex 24 at Daytona a couple of years ago. So our history dates back a couple of years anyway. Thanks for coming on the show, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's really exciting to see all the sim races again this year. And I've been a happy member since 2011 now. It's really exciting to see the product grow and develop over years.
You were at the first SimRacing Expo with us, right?
Yeah.
And I seem to remember we had this gigantic banner that was probably, was it 6 meters long or it was something quite large, and we didn't know what to do with it. And then somebody said, "Oh, I'll take that." Who was that?
Oh yeah, that was me. I thought, why not? It barely fit my car. I also didn't know what to do with it because my rooms are not big enough. But last year I finally had an idea to cut out the icon and then get some signatures from drivers at racetracks. And I think I also got you
brought it to Daytona, that's where I saw it. So it's funny that the banner was bigger than a wall in your house. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how big those banners are. Didn't realize that before.
Yeah. It was actually an extra one from the ones that were hanging on the track. That's why it was the XL.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth a lot more now since worldwide celebrity Kevin Bobbitt has signed it. For those of you not at the SimRacing Expo, Kevin's kind of a big deal.
I like to think so. I've signed a few things from members. Most recently, after I worked for an LMP3 team, and I think I mentioned to Greg once that we won the race at Mid-Ohio. May have come up once or twice. But a member showed up in a banana suit to congratulate us, which was awesome, and he asked me to sign the banana suit. So I signed that as well.
So Neil, why don't you tell us a little bit about your involvement, your league, and how you guys are working with iRacing?
Yeah, so we started our league in 2012, I think, together with a Danish friend, Egil. I also met him through iRacing. We were racing each other in one of the special events, and I had some technical issues, and we started talking, and from there it led into like, oh, we both like endurance racing. Why not organize it ourselves? So that's how Neo basically started, and it took off from there. Actually, looking back, I still don't realize. I don't know how it became so big and so popular. Actually, to me, it feels like I'm just doing my thing, and everyone's welcome in that sense.
So how many people are in the league now, and how many races do you do? And tell us a little bit about what's going on maybe this year, and then we can get into, I know there's some changes coming up as well.
Yeah, so we do 6 races a year from the fall until early in the spring. And they're all endurance races, so we usually do regular races of 6 hours, and then our final race is used to be 24 hours. And yeah, I think they're around 50 teams each year, and then each with multiple drivers. So I think overall it's about over 300 drivers a year or a season. So.
And how do people get into the league? It must be a waiting list, right? I mean, it's pretty popular. You can't just sign up, right? So like, I don't have a spot waiting for me if I wanted to drive, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was, especially from the first year, it was very popular and we didn't know what to do. But since then, we started like a pre-qualifying to select the teams. So we have at least a procedure to see, okay, who's fast and who's also a bit more careful on track. Because we try not to look at just lap times, but also a bit of, are you capable of doing multiple
So a bit
laps?
of I-rating and safety rating confirmed, and some personal opinion on whether you think they're going to fit in with the league?
So it's mainly I-rating, or each driver has to be a certain level of I-rating.
What is that? What are you guys looking for? What kind of numbers are you looking for?
So at the moment we're looking at 2,000 because...
You're not in, Greg.
Not in. I'm real safe though. I don't wreck a lot.
No, but it's also an indication that you are able to finish races on a consistent basis, and it's not too difficult to get to 2,000 in my opinion. But so that's our first.
So you don't have to be a world championship caliber driver.
No, exactly
right?
not. And that was also the idea of our league, to give everyone else basically an opportunity to drive in a professional-like environment. That was our goal.
That's great, and that seems to be the reputation it has. So I know you and I talked recently that you have some exciting plans. I think you've announced them. If not, we'll spoil it here. But what's going on? So the league starts up again this fall, pretty soon. So what's changed? What's going on?
Yeah. So before our main source of our main inspiration was Le Mans, because we're huge endurance fans, and Le Mans is the biggest race of the year. But this year we just announced the partnership with Creventic, and they organized the 24H series, and their biggest race is the 24 hours in Dubai in January, I believe. That's pretty exciting, but that also means that the classes and cars are changing from Le Mans style to GT and touring car. Yeah.
And how do all the members of the league take that? Were they excited about the new partnership, disappointed about the cars, or it's looking forward to a challenge? Or
overall it's really good. They're also, I mean, of course, people are disappointed if we take out the prototypes. It's very unfortunate. But I think overall the change is good for the long run.
I think there's an interesting correlation, because we make changes at iRacing, and sometimes it may disappoint an individual user or a group of users. But as a company, we have to look at the big picture, and are we doing things that will grow the audience and everything overall? And we're not doing it because we want to upset somebody, but we have to make a big picture decision, right?
Yeah, especially with esports growing, as also sim racing now with NASCAR and Peak Series, and I think 24H series is. The guys from Creventic, they are very open to new experiences. This is also more of a pilot for them to see an introduction to sim racing and esports. And who knows what comes after this.
They're based in the Netherlands, right? And which is where you're from.
Yeah.
And did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? How did that come about?
I reached out to them. I already tried to arranged something a couple years ago with them for an Imola race. That didn't work out, or I didn't have the time to follow through with it. But I thought let's try again, and now I have a solid plan for them.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool that you guys. I mean, there's lots of leagues, and we appreciate all the leagues and the members that use them. But yours is a little bit unique, and you do a whole lot for the community, which we really appreciate. And it's much more visible than some of the leagues. I know most of your races are broadcast. You work with the RaceBot guys, right?
Yeah. Together with the RaceBot, we're also trying to see how to improve the streaming. I was last year we started with the graphics of the cars on the overlays, and it's now cool to see all the other big broadcasts using that as well.
That's really cool to see how streaming is becoming more mainstream, no pun intended, and how the quality of each of these races is really rivaling their real world counterparts, and it continues to grow and get better, and how it's going to evolve even over the next year or 2 or 10 is going to be really cool to see. Now, switching gears a little bit, let's talk about iRacing. Let's talk about the build. We were speaking earlier about what's coming up. What are you most excited about of the things that we've discussed with you that are coming out in the next build here in a week?
The biggest thing is Barcelona track, of course, and also with the TCR car for our league, of course. It was a bit of a guess of if the TCR car will be available in the fall, so I thought, let's take that shot. Fortunately, it worked out.
We do tend to wait till the last minute to announce things, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm really excited. I'm also excited for the technical parts that improving, like the dynamic track and the lighting. I mean, every quarter it looks better. I mean, my dad is maybe my number one fan. He always watches the league races, and he always tells me like, "Oh, it looks really good," and also day-night transitions, like it's amazing.
We're really excited. For something we haven't actually shown off is Greg Hill and the art guys have done a great job even improving the day-night transitions more, and sunrise and sunset are a thing of beauty right now, and what they're doing is absolutely incredible. We've teased a couple of screenshots with it, but the dynamic lighting system that they've put in place is super cool. So you drove the TCR car yesterday, right?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It's a fun car. It's I expected more understeer, to be honest, but it's a fun car. I mean, of course, it's difficult to get a real opinion in 6 minutes of driving. But
we know some people. If you wanted to take another ride, I think we probably could make that happen.
Yeah. No, but first impression is really good. It's I think it will be a lot of fun to race with. Yeah.
So what cars are going to run in your league this fall?
Yeah, so this year we're starting to use the GT3 cars, TCR, and the Porsche Cup car. That
would be an interesting mix,
that'd be a good
especially with
mix.
the Porsche Cup car, the lack of downforce and aids going against the GT3s and how that'll work in traffic, and then the TCR. That'll be really cool. So if somebody wants to get involved in your league or learn more about it, where can they go to do that?
Well, they can go to neo-endurance.com for all the information. There you can also sign up for the league.
Cool. All right, Neil, well, thanks for waiting around for us while Kevin was being a superstar and being interviewed by everybody under the sun. We do appreciate your patience, and we're looking forward to seeing what you guys do this season.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks a lot. All right, I'm back with a couple of great guests from Heusinkveld.
Okay, we'll make you get away with that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Technically, it's Heusinkveld, but it's very hard to pronounce. So
I mean, my Dutch is not great. I apologize, but I'm with Nils and Sven, and I'd like you both just to introduce yourself. I'll start with you, Nils.
Yeah. So I'm Nils Heusinkveld, the engineer at Heusinkveld Engineering. So all the pedals and the shifters and the handbrakes that we make. I'm the mechanical engineer, and been sim racing since one of the earliest games were from Dave Kemmer, Indy 500, 1989. That's one of my first games. So in a way, I've been supporting iRacing since 1989, I guess, because that's the man.
Yeah, I've been around. And Sven, yourself.
Yeah, my name is Sven. I'm responsible, more for the commercial side of things of Heusinkveld Engineering. I've also been sim racing, since the 80s. Accolade Grand Prix, Indianapolis 500, one of the first titles. Grand Prix Legends, NASCAR games. So yeah, a lot of iRacing related titles. And since a few years now working together with Nils at Heusinkveld Engineering. Something which started off very small for us, but it's really taking off for us at the moment. And well, having a lot of fun, that's the most important thing. And
it's funny that you guys mentioned both of those titles because I'm not kidding. At lunch today, I was sitting down with Kevin Bobbitt and Doug Hunt, who are my colleagues I'm here with, and we were talking about those two titles and how it would be cool if someday we could maybe re-release them. No, we're not doing it right now, for those of you listening, but it would be something that would be cool down the road.
Oh yeah, the Grand Prix Legends was really a super important title for us. Because we were at university back then, and it turned out I didn't know Sven lived in the same city as I did, and it turned out he was hosting races because his mom worked at the university, and that was the only place back in those days where you had good internet speed, so they could host a server there. So Sven would sneak in and launch a dedicated server on the PC at the university, and we would race there. And it turned out he's from the same city, and yeah, we became friends and. Well, this is what become of it. We're a company now. It's Grand Prix Legends is probably the most important sim for us. Yeah,
we have a new sealed, new in box Grand Prix Legends in our office. It's in in a display case, so it's a really important title for us. And also a few of the other people in our company, Ronnie, who's doing the marketing, we know him from the same period, also from Grand Prix Legends Online. Remco, our operations manager, also a Grand Prix Legends driver. We met him in the same era as well. So. I think it's fair to say without Grand Prix Legends there wouldn't have been Heusinkveld Engineering and our lives would have been completely different right now. That's without a doubt.
And then now the Dutch may be known for some exaggerations, but this is not exaggerated at all. This is absolutely true. Yeah.
Next time you guys come to the US, you need to bring your copy of Grand Prix Legends with you and have Dave sign it.
Yeah, but then we have to break the seal. So
no, you sign the plastic on the outside.
Yeah, that might work.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to Sven. Let's talk about how you guys have been involved with iRacing, and how it got started actually in the game, and kind of some of the partnership that you've had.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe maybe it's also important to talk about the start of our company and how that relates to iRacing.
Yeah, that's what.
Of course, iRacing and also all the titles before it. There's a large focus on realism. And that's also why we like Grand Prix Legends as a title that much. What we felt was lacking at the time in the market, like 2012, 2013, the simulations were getting better, but the hardware was not really following suit at the moment. And if you drive an Indy car in iRacing, we really wanted to have that physical experience and also the hardware which would match more or less the experience which you had in the software simulator. So because the simulations were improving and Grand Prix Legends, the first title, which really gave you the sensation of driving an actual car with good physics, and we wanted to have matching hardware. With Nils being the engineer of us two, he was also sort of frustrated with hardware available at the time. We made a few prototypes of the pedals, sold a few on a forum, and from that moment it really took off. And for us as a company, it's really nice that the software is developing, getting better all the time. There's so many different cars which you can drive. For example, in iRacing, we have a lot of customers. For example, real race car drivers who drive the Porsches to practice for their own track sessions. We have a few IndyCar drivers as a customer even who train in iRacing. And for us, it's really a matter of being able to supply matching hardware, which allows them to, for example, press 100 kilos, which you can in an IndyCar. They can do the same on their product. So the link between iRacing and also, of course, other software titles is that there's a lot of realism from the software side. We try to provide the same level of realism and on the hardware side, and that's pretty much the goal of our company. So if iRacing keeps developing, as being a hardcore simulator, then we'll try to do the same from the hardware side of things.
I think there's a safe bet that we're going to continue down that path, and it's cool that both companies, kind of play off each other. But I want to go back to what you talked about when you were the initial offering of pedals. Whenever you convinced Nils to build you equipment.
Yeah.
When was that?
So, I'm sort of a permanently slightly frustrated sim racer.
Me too.
It always has to be better. And I did mechanical engineering, but didn't do a lot with my education. But the pedals, they didn't feel that great, and I started experimenting with load cells. And in 2012, we made some prototypes, and Sven came over just as a friend. He saw that, well, Niels, how about we start a little web shop and, we'll sell 20 pedal sets a year. We can take the wife out for dinner. It'll be fun.
It's a slippery slope.
And now we are 13 people in total. Not everybody full time, but still 13 people. So it's been growing rapidly.
So what, from the initial offering, your prototype, to I guess the newest thing is the sprints.
Yeah.
What have you learned, and what have you learned? What have you learned works, and what have you learned doesn't work?
Well, you sort of go along and learn, of course. I mean, I have to admit we've been quite lucky in the beginning. As Nils said, our first production run, it was 48 pedals in total, and it has worked really well for us. We were first mover in the market, but we also had a bit of luck perhaps with reliability, etc. And you learn through the years. I mean, there's so much you must do if you grow as a company. At first we were working at Niels's attic, it was the assembly area. The storage room, there were our hallways and bedrooms, which caused a bit of issues with girlfriends after a few months. And it's not just developing the pedals and improving the pedals, but if you grow as a sim racing company, there's so more you have to do. You have to look after assembly, supply chain. It's not just the development of products, but it's a complete package which you need if you start off as a small manufacturer and then grow into being a larger company. Of course, and you learn on the pedal side. We get a lot of feedback from drivers, for example, who use our products. I think if we look at our customer base, it's probably 70-80% is sim racers and 20% is drivers, race teams, other companies who build simulators. And we always listen a lot on what we can improve. We read the forums. We have race drivers coming over to our office and give feedback on what is good and what is not good and what it can improve. You said earlier it's like a continuous slope, and you improve all the time. It's more incremental than revolutions, but you learn all the time. But not only in research and development, there's more to a sim racing company than just the research and development part. And getting products to the market, you have to learn a lot about it as well. It's not always easy.
So you guys obviously started off, as we talked about, building pedals, but you also offer a lot of other things as well. We've got shifters. You guys make your own chassis as well. Let's talk a little bit more about that, of how that came about and maybe what's to come in the future.
With going back to the frustrated sim racer, the rig is quite important if it's solid or not. And available rigs at the time, if you start to brake at like 200, 300 pounds of brake pedal force, you get like flex in cockpits that otherwise seem sturdy, but they just flex and bend, and it starts to creak. So there was a need for something that's stiffer and better. And nowadays there is quite a lot of choice in that regard. But it's just part of the realism in the hardware and the software. At some point something becomes the weakest link and you have to sort of tackle that. And at some point that was the rig, even though it's a fairly simple product that we don't really focus that much on. It's very important in your sim racing experience with direct drive wheels, like lots of torque. If it's all flexing and wobbling, it detracts from the experience.
And then the shifters as well.
Yeah. Just sequential shifters. We get lots of questions about our H pattern shifters.
I was following up with that.
Yeah, we made a vlog video about that. So that's kind of postponed. Sorry about that. But yeah, shifting as well. Just a nice feel. And in iRacing, of course, you have lots of different cars. Some have an H pattern, some have sequential, some have pedal shift. And for the ultimate experience, you don't want to use pedal shifts when the real car, like a V8 supercar that you have in iRacing, it's got a nice sequential stick. So you want to have that matching for the most realism, and we offer a sequential shifter for that. And
then on that note as well, you have I think a fairly recent offering as the e-brake as well for the rallycross.
Yeah. When we look about which products we want to develop, we always want to make products which we would like ourselves. And the same as it once was with the pedals, there wasn't really a good handbrake available. So then we decided to develop one ourselves, which is just very strong, very sturdy. And we're always, when we think about developing products, we don't really think about what's going to sell or let's make money. We think about products which we would like to use. That's the most important guidance for us in determining in where to go with regard to product development. And in the end, that will lead to an ever-growing portfolio of products which we sell. So for the future, the H-shifter is currently on hold because so much happening at Heusinkveld at the moment with the release of the sprint pedals, but of course it's still on the development list somewhere, but there are other ideas as well. And we will continually be improving and expanding on our portfolio. But at the same time, we must also be realistic. At the moment, we employ 13 people. A lot of them are in assembly. We are still a small company.
We know how that feels too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way we have the development budget of a Logitech or Thrustmaster or Fanatec. So for other companies, maybe like larger companies are able to push out 3 or 4 new products a year. Our development pace is slower, and maybe that's something which will change in the future, but we also have to be realistic about it. So,
actually, the handbrake, we had that slightly before iRacing came out with the dirt stuff and the rallycross stuff, but it's nice that some like lesser games see the handbrake as a button, but the better sims, including iRacing, is analog, and we have actually the pressure-sensitive handbrake, so the harder you pull it, the more you brake, and that's quite a nice feeling, and that matches with like a modern software like iRacing. You actually get that response that if you yank it hard, you get a different reaction from the car than if you're more subtle with it. So that's the evolution of the physics in iRacing and sim racing, and the hardware again going together very well to give you more control of the car. So that's a good example of how that applies, growth in the hardware and in the software space, improving the sim racing. That's real cool.
Well, we appreciate guys like yourselves just making people, the way that people, our customers, interact with our software, a better experience for them, which is a better experience for you, which is a better experience for us. So we appreciate you guys taking the time for coming down here at the SimRacing Expo, and we look forward to getting something going again here in the future.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
That's fun.
Thanks.
Guys. Bye-bye.
All right, Kevin and I are back with our next guest. You know his voice, you don't want to know his face, from RaceSpot TV.
That is harsh.
Mr. Wil Vincent.
It might be harsh, but it's true. It's so great to be with you guys here on the iRacing stall at SimRacing Expo 2019.
Well, it's always great to have you guys here. We've done this event with you multiple years. We've done other events with you guys. It's always fun. You guys get to call the live races, and then you help out in the stand here. Members love meeting you guys, putting the face with the name and the voice, and good time. Appreciate all your help at the expo.
Well, thank you. I mean, I will say, I remember the first year we did this event when we were working back home at RaceSpot HQ, having to literally get the information from someone taking a photo onto the screens. Last year, of course, it was our first year. We joined you guys here at the Nurburgring, and this year as well, the move into the Nurburgring arena, and it's been... Well, I'm surprised I still have a voice.
You called a lot of races. The arena's been amazing. You guys had a nice booth that you were set up in. Racing was great. Lots of action. Some controversy, too. Probably saw it on Twitter, but if you didn't see it live.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit of what you saw from your vantage point and how the racing's been going and the results.
Interesting. I mean, last year, let's not forget, it was Pure Racing Team, or Pure Team Racing, as they became known at one part of the weekend. That was absolutely dominant. This year, it's been the Josh Rogers and Mitchell de Jong show, with Rogers winning in both the Digital GT500 and the Porsche Sim Racing Trophy. And it kind of sums up Rogers' season, in my opinion. He's just been absolutely
winning everything?
Fantastic. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the amount of tax he's going to have to pay and all the earnings he's going to make from you guys.
That's a good problem to have as an esports racer.
Yeah, but it's been great. It's been great. You're right, there has been some controversy, but you kind of like that. You like it when the teams are that amped up. They want to go out there, put on a good show, and I like it when those emotions, they don't boil over. We didn't have any wrestling or boxing matches, but it was nice to see the passion of the drivers and the teams.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really came through, not only the drivers, how they handled themselves on site, but as well as the social media. But let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your team, because RaceSpot is not just you. You brought the whole crew with you and have called, probably close to a dozen races this weekend?
We've done a lot of work. Hugo Luis, it's the first time many people, even his own teammates, have seen Hugo Luis. We flew him in from Brazil to work the weekend. That's been great. We've had RaceSpot Wife 1 and RaceSpot Wife 2 in Svetomira and in Isabel. They've both been here. Paul and Connery, Paul Matthew Smith and Connery Maddock, of course. We've also had some help from Tobias Brockman as well as Scott Fountain. So, yeah, it's been a big, long weekend for us guys at RaceSpot. And for the first time, we're branded up in yellow and black.
Now, Will, you've also been working on staying in good graces with the iRacing staff that's here. You guys have had some nights.
We've had some nights.
But you did bring us some gifts.
We did, yeah. We bought you 2 cans of Rich Energy to prove that it does actually exist. And of course, it's with the old logo on it as well. So those things will be souvenirs if you want to sell them on eBay, etc. down the line.
This segment of the iRacing Downshift
Is
brought
not
to you. Oh,
is
not
not
brought to
to
you.
you.
Otto's going to go ballistic when he hears this. But I mean, I will say it's been an interesting, fun atmosphere in the village. A lot of the teams are sat there. A lot of the teams have been partying there. I mean, the only sad thing I think for you guys is that you've been right opposite the big party house of the weekend. Are we allowed to name drop the fact that Sim Racing have been partying till like 5 o'clock in the morning?
We noticed.
We did notice that since we're an exhibitor, we have a different schedule than the racers, right? So we're trying to get a bit of sleep, and we're back here at the crack of dawn, and then the racers are on the complete opposite schedule and up till 4 in the morning. But anyway, it's all good fun. It's great to see the community having a good time, getting together. The competition's really stiff on track, right, in these races, but then everybody gets together afterwards and has a good time together. So it's pretty cool.
You make a good point, though. You guys have always been here for about 8 o'clock in the morning. We're a little bit further behind you. We need to be here for 9 o'clock. The drivers, you see them waltzing in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, fresh as a daisy. I'm just like, I'm jealous of you guys.
All right, Will, so what's next for you and the Race Spot crew?
Well, of course, 2 weeks' time, we're going to be heading ourselves, 3 weeks' time, we're going to be heading ourselves out to Frankfurt to be working with you guys again at one of the biggest, if not the biggest motor show in the world, the Frankfurt Auto Show. And we'll be working with Porsche for what's going to be a non-championship exhibition round of the Porsche Esports Super Cup. I am really looking forward to that, except for one thing, and it is, again, time zoned, because we can only set up between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 o'clock in the morning. So we are basically having to work overnight shifts, test everything, get everything going, and then I'm back on site at 8 o'clock in the morning to get ready for the direction. But that's the next big event we're doing. But of course, we've got the World Championship Series that are playing out. We're in playoff mode in the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, which is absolutely incredible again. And I mean, what a year it's been for the World Championship Series, with the draft, of course, in the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, what we've seen with Porsche coming into sim racing, more prize money than ever before. I mean, it's been incredible, and it's actually, I will say, it's an honor to be able to direct and commentate on this sort of stuff.
It's great to have you guys involved. I mean, you're such a critical part, the broadcast of these eSport World Championship Series. If we do them and nobody watches, do they really happen, right? I mean, you need the software, you need the community, you need the drivers, you need the content, and you need the broadcast. It's all part of the package, and it's really come along this year.
Yeah, and I mean, the commentators are such a huge part of that, working with some amazing commentators, of course, Paul and Connery for the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Then, of course, we've got Evan Pasoko. He's no longer just the voice of the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. He's got himself a nice, sweet gig, of course, doing the events with you guys on the NBC Sports Network as well. I mean, and the thing is, that is the next step. They had the German commentary of this event on TV here in Germany for SimRacing Expo. We have live broadcasted races on the NBC Sports Network. Sim racing is the future, and it is incredible to not just see the drivers develop, but the way the industry's developed so much over the last few years.
No, it's incredibly important, or incredibly exciting to be a part of this, and just so really happy to have you as one of the voices of it. But we appreciate you taking the time to come sit down with us today, helping us out in the booth, and doing all the things that you do that help iRacing out.
It's always a pleasure. I've got one question. When do I get an invite to the new office? Because I need to buy a new bathrobe.
As soon as we get moved in, sometime later this fall, you're welcome to join us. Anytime, Will.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed all of these special guests from the SimRacing Expo on this episode of the iRacing Downshift. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other places podcasts are found. For Kevin Bobbitt, Chris Leone, I'm Greg West. We'll see you at the track.